All of the videos that we make is to give you all of the tools that you need to either buy smart or sell smart. I want to gear it for specifically my sellers. If you're a buyer, a seller doesn't reject your offer. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode here of Living in El Paso. I'm Alexa Pena. I'm a local real estate agent. I'm also an investor in the area. I also happen to be one of the top producers in the area. And the reason behind all of the videos that we make is to give you all of the tools that you need to either buy smart or sell smart. So with that being said, let's dive deep into today's video. Now, today's conversation, I want to gear it for specifically my sellers, but there is some useful stuff if you're a buyer that you want to consider that maybe is going to help you tweak your offer so that a seller doesn't reject your offer. Now, this video is going to be geared around things that as a seller, you should be saying no at all costs to ensure that you truly are getting the best offer for your property, yes, but also ensuring that you are protected, because quite frankly, there's a lot of stuff that happens in real estate that you just want to avoid at all costs. Now, the first thing I want to dive deep into today is when you're putting your house on the market and you have a for sale sign outside, you're going to have nosy-loos. You're going to have people that are going to want to knock on the property and try and get into the home without having their agent. I am going to beg you that you say no. And the reason behind that is for your safety. I have heard of horror stories of people essentially either passing by to either scam people or simply are trying to eye the property to be able to see how much valuable stuff it has. And quite frankly, there's been horror stories of people just walking by the property, getting access to it without their agent, and then things come back missing. So you definitely want to avoid that at all costs. Now, the second thing you want to say no to if you're a seller, and this should also be applicable if you're a buyer, to be honest with you, is can I represent you simply because I am your friend or because I'm your family member? And the answer should be no. No, because quite frankly, you should be hiring somebody that truly is going to, number one, have the knowledge, expertise in the market, but also that you feel comfortable in hiring. I've seen situations in which people have hired either their friend because they felt bad that, you know, they kind of guilt tripped them into hiring them, like, oh, you're not my friend if you don't hire me, like, how could you do this? Or family members that are also just hired because, quite frankly, they knew obviously the seller or the buyer, and then at the end of the day, they regret it because the person didn't really have the experience. They just got into the industry, and obviously maybe you as a seller or as a buyer, you're doing them a solid trying to hire them because you want to be that first person to believe in them. But quite frankly, it is also a big investment that you have made into your home. So the last thing you want is to hire somebody that doesn't have the experience or expertise. Now, I will say everybody has to start at one point, right? Everybody has to start at one point or another in their journey, but you want to make sure that if you are going to hire them, they have somebody that is going to be knowledgeable. Maybe they have a mentor that's going to guide them through the entire transaction, because the last thing you want is to put your money or your potential of your profits at risk. Now, the third thing you absolutely want to say no to is, can I start doing upgrades to the home even though we haven't closed on the home? Now, as a buyer, you should not want to do this, but I have had a lot of buyers ask this when I'm representing a seller. And as a seller, you might say, well, that's not so bad of an idea. What if they do upgrades and, you know, the deal falls through? Well, those upgrades are mine. No, don't see it that way. The contrary of that is that they start opening up walls on your home and then they later don't qualify. And then there you have a big hole in your living room that was never basically going to be completed until now you take care of that. Or they find certain things and now they're not happy with, and now they're not moving forward with the deal because of stuff that you as a seller maybe weren't even aware was an issue, that now because of construction they have become aware to. So always say no to any construction, any kind of work done before it's officially their home. Now, the fourth thing you absolutely want to say no to, and I will say this is something that some people might disagree with, and I'll give you both sides of this, okay? So you take this as you will. But you don't want to let somebody move in before actually closing and funding on the deal. And I'll tell you why. If for some reason, just like the other example, they were not able to proceed with the purchase of the home. Let's say, God forbid, somebody in their family dies, and maybe it was a co-signer, maybe it was a spouse, maybe it was the wife, and now they're not able to actually close the deal. Now you're going to have a horrible situation in which maybe this person is struggling financially, maybe this person is struggling emotionally, physically, whatever the case might be. And now you're having to deal with getting people out of your home because also you have your family to take care of. You need to get this home sold. And now you just agreed to this person to live in the house that truly did not finish purchasing the home. And now you have to deal with evicting that person. So it is not an ideal situation. Now I will say, there are certain situations in which I have seen people that have fully gotten everything approved and time is of the essence, they're military, they're coming in early, the house is vacant, and they draw up a temporary lease agreement up until closing. But I will say it has risk, and you need to know what those risks look like, which is the ones that I just mentioned. So if you are okay with potentially going through that, then of course to each their own. Now, the next thing you want to say no to, but it's also a negotiable, is can I make all of the furniture part of the deal? And I have had some people say this, and you might be sitting there and saying, well, Alexa, for the right price. Well, that's the thing. For most buyers, they're not willing to offer you anything extra. Not all, okay, not all. Some of my buyers are very, very reasonable, but some buyers are not, and they want to give you the asking price, but they want to ask for you to leave valuable, sentimental things behind. Maybe that could be the patio furniture that your brother-in-law gave you, or it could be something as sentimental as a painting that you purchased in this beautiful little town that nobody knew about. All of these things, yes, they're negotiable, and yes, it's up to you to obviously agree or not agree. But a lot of sellers sometimes think it's like part of the deal and they have to accept because their agent is making it sound like that. Like, oh, either you accept this offer as is, Bill, and you leave them the painting, or if not, they're gonna walk away. That is not true. Make sure that you stand your ground. Make sure that you make it clear, hey, I'm willing to sell you the home and I'm willing to sell you this piece, but it's gonna cost you extra money. So if you're willing to do that, definitely talk to your agent about that, because the last thing you want is to agree to something that you don't feel happy with and later you're going to regret. Now, the next one is my personal favorite, and it is extremely important that you really understand this. And I made another video talking to you about real estate terms that are important to know. It's general information that, quite frankly, most agents don't take the time to explain. Most times we also like to simplify things, which I understand, but also if clients have questions, more in-depth questions, I like to make sure that I can explain them in a way that, yes, you're going to understand it versus just like reading it off of Google. So it's very important that you understand that. But to the most important part of this is say no to a unqualified buyer, okay? And this might sound very easy to, say, okay, yeah, of course, why would I say yes to an unqualified buyer, Alexa? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of things in the contract that can be a red flag. And if you don't know how to read the contract correctly, that can be a huge mistake for you. I'll give you an example. Let's say I write an offer, I'm representing the buyer, you're being represented by your client, and by your agent, and you're the client. And let's say in this situation, I wrote in the contract under the third-party financing that I needed my buyer to have a 25-day option period in which basically they were still going to be allowed to get full approval for their loan. 25 days, I don't know about you, but that seems like a lifetime, especially when you're in a real estate transaction, because you're already stressed about wanting to either buy or sell. And 25 days for you to just be with this uncertainty of, is this person going to be fully qualified or not, is just not ideal. So you want to make sure that your agent is taking the time to really explain to you the contract so that you understand, is this client qualified? Now, another thing on that is, where are the funds coming from? We have a lot of people that sometimes pay cash for a lot of these deals. Sometimes they're selling in big places, California, Florida, Nevada, and they have a lot of proceeds. They want to come and downsize. They want to come and just really get the most for their money, and they come with cash. And in that situation, they have a paper trail. They have ways that we can prove that that money came from, whether it's a 1031 exchange or whatever the case is. However, there are some fishy situations in which there is no paper trail and the money is just sitting under a mattress, and obviously that does cause certain red flags. Now, I know some people are old school and some people want to keep their money like that, but there is something that you can talk to your agent about so that you can actually properly make sure that this money actually goes through the correct process for it now to be qualified funds. So talk to your agent about that. But essentially, you want to make sure that you are accepting an offer that is from a qualified buyer. So make sure that you fully understand what you're signing. And my last one for today, that is also a top request that I've seen a lot of buyers ask for, and that personally, whenever I have a buyer, I'm really good about explaining this to them so that number one, they don't waste their time. Number two, they don't waste the seller's time. And number three, they're able to get their offer accepted. That's the most important part of this entire transaction. But something that I have seen when I'm representing a seller and I have another agent representing their buyer, and I can quickly tell when the agent is newer because the list of repairs that they will try and come and ask for is just ridiculous. Like, they're literally asking for a brand new home, knowing that the house was built in 2020 or 2019, or you get the point, right? So you want to be very, very clear about the repairs that you are not willing to conduct. Now, I will say this, obviously, there's some safety repairs that are going to be essential, not only from the sense of the buyer buying a home that is safe for them and their family, but also the lender will request this. So make sure that I always recommend, if you can, do an inspection before listing it. That's great. If not, you don't have to. The buyer technically is the one that when they're gonna purchase a home, they have to, well, they don't have to, but they should, hire their inspector to make sure that they know what they're purchasing. But with that being said, you want to ensure that only items that are essential are stuff that you're agreeing to. I'll give you an example of something that's not something that is a requirement. Landscaping. I've seen some people talk about, well, I don't like the grass. Can you put rocks? Or, well, I don't like the way that the faucet looks. Can you change it? Well, I don't like that ceiling fan. Can you change it? No. So overall, obviously, this is something that is in situations that I've seen with my clients that I want to share with you that you don't have to feel like you need to do, because unfortunately, not all agents are going to be transparent with you. And simply for them to just realistically get a sale, they're going to just tell you, you need to do this, when in reality, you didn't, and you could have saved yourself more money. So with that being said, I hope this video was helpful. As you know, these videos are geared for you to really just have as much value and much information as possible if you're in the journey of buying or selling, or maybe you're just browsing on YouTube. But if you do have any feedback or would like to talk about something specifically on any of our future videos, leave a comment down below or send us an email. We would love to cover that. But until then, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.